Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Every Horror Film where horror is forever. And today we are talking about In a Violent Nature. Just came out this past weekend, May 31st. I got to tell you, man, we went and saw this movie last night. We went and saw it together, and we've got a lot to talk about. Jeff, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Dude, I'll tell you, when we went to see Late Night with the Devil last month, and we were like in the trailers, we were talking about Jason and where to go with the Jason franchise and the Camp Crystal Lake Peacock thing, and we were talking about it. And then this trailer for this movie came on, and it's just like this slasher coming out of the ground at what looks like a summer camp, stalking through the woods. I think we both literally were like, "Nah, no way, no way." And that's all I knew. That's all I knew then, and that's all I knew going up into it. I stayed clear of it. I wanted to go into it blind because I went into it blind with Late Night with the Devil, and I was happy with that one. What about you?
Yeah, I remember we were watching the trailer and we were talking about that, and then this trailer pops up, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, is this actually the Friday the 13th, the Peacock? Is it already out, like a trailer for it? But little did we know we are getting the Jason universe. Yeah,
Whatever that is, we'll talk about
whatever that is. We
it.
don't know. We don't know yet. Fortnite something.
Yeah, oh,
But
great.
yeah, this I mean obviously this looks and feels very much like Friday the 13th in a lot of ways. But yeah, when we saw the trailer, me and you were like, "Oh wow, we've got to see this," because I think the thing that really caught our attention, which with most people, is that it looked like it was a POV from the killer's perspective. Not the first time that this has been done, I don't think, but for a good portion of the film, this is what we see from his perspective. And I think everyone kind of was like, okay, this is a cool idea. Let's give it a go and see how it works. And yeah, we went and checked it out last night. Would you like to go first? You want me to go first? What are you thinking?
Well, neither one of us has the Blu-ray yet, but I got to ask you: are you going to buy this on Blu-ray?
Is the sky blue?
All right, then you get to go first.
Fair enough. I had so much fun with this movie. I can't
Yeah.
lie. To me, it was a good time. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Are there some problems and some flaws with this movie? Absolutely. I agree with any person that says they don't like this movie, and the reasons why I would assume are because of what we're going to discuss. But for the most part, I had fun with this movie. I didn't go into it really knowing a whole lot. I didn't go into it expecting a lot. And I'm glad that I didn't, because this was just a good old homage to slasher films, but done in a different way. And there's some fantastic kills in one in particular, which everyone is talking about. We'll obviously touch on that. Um, the ending, we're definitely gonna have to talk about it. There are some knocks against this movie, but for the most part, if you just sat down, watched the movie like we did, didn't have any expectations, I thought it was just a fun movie. I had a good time. I really did. I enjoyed it, and I almost would call this somewhat of a horror comedy, because I don't know if it was just our theater, or I don't think so, but we were laughing like throughout half of the movie because some of the shit that was happening was just so funny in this movie.
Yeah, and not in like a goofy, like Chuck, like Seed of Chucky way, but
Yeah.
in like not in a way that's intentionally funny, I don't think, but in like a oh boy, this is just this is happening. It's you. You have to check your expectations at the door with a movie this size. It, you're not getting the next franchise out of this. You're not getting the next icon out of this. You're not getting the next blockbuster mega hit out of this. Dude, this movie, when we saw it, didn't even have a rating. When you don't have an MPAA rating, you're either one, unrateable because you're just so off the charts, or two, not worth the MPAA's time, and they get on everything. So
Mhm.
happy medium in there somewhere, man. But unrated this was, and boy, I had no expectations. I'd say I had low expectations based on what I saw in that first teaser. Like, all right, this is like a very low budget film, like Blair Witch Project low. But when I started hearing about some of the kills, like you said, and some of the gore and just like the fun with it people were having, I wanted to use it as a test to just see like, okay, can I just have fun with a one off? Like, can I just let the mind go, just get violent with it, and just have a good time? And I'll tell you what, if if you've had coffee before the movie and you could stay awake, this is the movie for you, man. This is the movie for that, definitely. It is not the next big thing. It is not a horror icon, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to get that. I think the Black Phone has better chances of becoming an icon than this. But if you can stay awake, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm glad that we picked the 740. Well, there was only two showings at our theater. It was 740 and like 1020, and I'm glad
Oh,
we picked.
I
Yeah,
would have died,
because
dude.
we there are some pacing issues with the film, and I think a lot of people kind of figure that out going into this, but you really don't know until you go into it. But yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, which this is a spoiler review, just putting that out there, um, go to an earlier screening unless you are just unless you were loaded up on sugar, Red Bull, whatever it is that keeps you up, because there are going to be some points where you get a little tired. But
Did
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it.
there were some points where I was like, oh boy, get to it, man. I can't watch anymore. Like it, we love tracking shots. Tracking shots are cool. They're hard to put together, and when they're done well, they add so much flavor. Almost this entire movie is a tracking shot. That's hard to watch, man. I mean, you're getting the big selling point, and this is exactly how it was pitched, was what if we saw Friday the 13th, but from Jason's perspective? Cool, right? We hadn't got that yet, believe it or not. But when you think about it, when you're not following the survivors or the victims or someone other than the killer, yeah, finally the age-old question of, does Michael Myers walk everywhere? That's been answered. This guy walks everywhere, and this guy is not efficient with it. He'll like go somewhere, he'll turn around, he'll do what he needs to, and then he'll come back for that thing he forgot, and then he'll go back. And boy, you follow it the entire time. And if you're into that kind of cinematography, good for you. If you're not, and you were just hoping for some Insidious scares, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you aren't getting it. So yeah, let's kind of just get into it. There really isn't a plot for this movie that's a grandiose plot, which is fine. We don't need that. Essentially, is we have this killer who his name's Johnny. Um, 60 years ago, something happened to him. He died. He fell off a fire tower or something, and he's buried beneath the ground, pretty much, just like in every Jason movie when he comes back. And we get this starting shot where it's just this a hard camera shot, standing shot on this like dilapidated like building or whatever. And there's this golden locket, and we hear these people in the background talking, these teenagers, like, man, I don't know, this is a weird place. What about this golden keychain? Well, it's not ours. We should leave it there. Blah blah blah. Oh, it looks kind of cool. I'm going to take it. They take it. They walk off. Pretty instantly, we get this guy's coming out of the ground. He was like, "Oh, someone stole that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that back." And he just comes out of the ground, and we get this like 5-10 minute shot of him coming out of his grave, and we it's like when you begin a GTA mission, like at the beginning of the game, like it's like a cutscene, and then it just kind of shifts to like the first, like the POV perspective where you're behind the character, and then you just start walking. It's kind of like a video game, honestly,
It
and
is.
that's how we get started. These people stole this golden locket that was his mom's or something, and he's like, "Hey, I need that back," and that pretty much starts the whole movie.
Yeah, and he emerges from the ground. You don't see his face, and he immediately starts his chase, which is very Michael Myers esque, where he's just walking and stalking and walking and stalking while something's going on. He his first victim he comes up to is some some guy in a cabin, and you hear some talking in the distance, but you're not really close enough to hear what's going on. You get bits and pieces of it, there's how this guy's laying bear traps all over the property, and it's going to come back to bite him one day. And Johnny, this guy, just keeps walking towards him, walks into the house. Johnny is looking for this locket. The gold locket was his mom's, and that's like, it's revealed that that's the only thing that can keep him at peace or send his soul back into rest, or whatever, stop his rampage. So this MacGuffin, he thinks it's in the house. He goes into the house, finds what he thinks is it. It's not really it. The homeowner is like shooting at him, but then running away, and he chases the guy out there. Guy dips into the woods instead of dipping onto the major highway right in front of his house, dips into the woods behind his house that Johnny just came from. Johnny walks the whole way following him. And at this point, the tracking shots, I'm in, right? I'm invested. I'm like, hell yeah. This is like GTA. This is like Skyrim third person. Let me just sit back and watch it, man. And he gets there, and the guy gets caught in his own bear trap, and Johnny does something with him, man. Why can't I remember this kill with this guy?
They didn't show the kill. It was
That's why.
it was they have him like his hand reaching toward the guy's face, and then it like cut scene, and it has his like bloody hand continuing to reach, and he grabs the gold locket. It turns out it wasn't it. It says number one motherfucker on it. He just drops it. It's like, oh, I don't need this.
Yeah, so it's an implied kill, so we don't really get it. Okay, I'm here for the violence, so I didn't get any violence that time. Whatever. Another long tracking shot of Johnny walking back into the woods past the scene of the crime. You see a dismembered arm laying on the ground. You hear some flies buzzing. He just keeps on walking. He keeps on walking until the sun starts going down. He's literally walking until it starts to turn nighttime.
Yeah.
Walking and walking and walking and walking and walking until finally we get to like this campsite where, wouldn't you know it, a bunch of teenagers are hanging out.
Classic.
Classic.
You never saw it coming.
It's a twist.
So yeah, we'll touch on this real quick. A lot of people's problem with this movie is, like you mentioned, there is a lot of shots. A lot of this runtime is just this killer walking through the woods, very monotonous, just walking, getting from place to place. I completely understand why people would not like that, and they might find it boring. Um, could they have cut down on a lot of that? Yes, they could have. But to me, at least for the first half of the movie, I was very much okay with watching these shots because it's different. It's something I haven't really seen, and there's no soundtrack in this movie. It's just him walking, and you hear nature. I've heard a lot of people talk about this is like a nature documentary in a way, and you follow the guy, and a lot of people are like, it's not it. You're not building up tension because you're seeing you're seeing him walk up on people. It's not vice versa. I actually disagree. I think it's cool to watch it from his perspective and like watch him formulate what he's going to do and how he walks up on these people and how he goes about, killing them. Like I get it's not for everyone and it can be boring at some points, but for the most part, I was in on watching him walk around and do stuff. It was different. I was zoned in on it because I don't know, I just found it interesting. To me, I enjoyed it for the most part. I really did.
Yeah, it's a perspective that we don't get a lot. There. I'm not going to say it's the first because it's definitely not the first, but it's not often that we get movies where you get to follow the antagonist or the bad guy. It's hard to say that Johnny's the main character in this movie, but technically he is.
He is,
It's
yeah.
it's Johnny's movie from his perspective, and there have been movies like that. It one of Marvel's biggest movies, Infinity War, was from the bad guy's perspective, so even general audiences have seen movies from the bad guy perspective. One could argue that the Star Wars prequels were from the bad guy perspective, but in terms of slasher, I can't think of a slasher movie that's from the icon's perspective. You know, people will, us included, we're not absolved of this, but everyone's going to compare this to Friday the 13th. It is a Friday the 13th, legally okay Friday the 13th movie, right? But the movie that this one reminded me of the most was this little Yui Bowl movie that came out in 2009. It's called Rampage. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. No.
Rampage, and not the video game monster movie one. Rampage from 2009 was about this teenager who was just like down on his luck, living with his parents. Society hates him. He hates society. He wants revenge against society. And the movie follows him, and he's stockpiling these guns that he's ordering online. And he puts on like a bulletproof vest that he made, and he goes out and he shoots up his hometown. Very dark, very gritty, very real, very not okay for 2024. I love that movie to death. Not that good of a movie, but I love that movie because it's gritty, it's shocking, and there's tracking shots of this guy walking around shooting up his hometown, shooting up a nail salon, shooting up a bank or something. It made me remember that movie so fondly. And you realize that you can follow these awful individuals, you can follow killers without rooting for them. One of the biggest downfalls of the Halloween sequels and the Jason sequels and the Chucky sequels is that you begin hating the human protagonists and rooting for the bad guy. Once you start rooting for the bad guy, the horror aspect is gone.
Mhm.
Do you feel like you were rooting for Johnny in this?
I was, but I was, but
Yeah.
I think I agree with what you're saying. I think for this film, it's a bit different because it's kind of like his movie, and they kind of, I mean, they stole from him. I get his perspective. Maybe he should have been going around killing people, but hey, whatever floats your boat. But it's very much his movie, whereas like in your Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, you have a final girl, someone to kind of latch onto to
Yeah.
root for. This you don't have that. It's very much his movie, so that's why I feel like a lot of people are rooting for him because I mean he's kind of the only character that's really fleshed out at all.
And he's barely fleshed out. He's got no dialogue. He's
No,
got barely any behavior other than stalking and killing. Yeah, you get a backstory explained to you, but you never really get that moment of learning about who he is. He's kind of just a thing walking through the woods, killing things, killing
yeah.
people. So I feel like out of obligation, I feel like I have to root for him, but I don't feel like I hate these human characters like I did in Halloween Resurrection, to where I'm just like, come on, just get out here and kill these. So
Yeah.
we,
I
we get the go ahead.
I was gonna about the characters, I really don't even know their names. I
I
feel
don't
like
either.
it's not really important as in like other, classic slasher films where you have a final girl, a final two or three people you get close to characters that you know. In this film, I feel like they intentionally made them very dumb, stupid characters. And I think even Johnny realizes that he's like, man, these people are dumb.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
but to me that's okay because we're getting it from his perspective. It would be a little bit difficult if they moved away from his perspective to develop a character and then go back. It kind of defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do. So I feel like in this film that's fine. Like you don't really have a final person to latch onto.
Yeah, I mean You're right. There is no. I mean, there's literally a final girl, which we'll get to at the end. But
I don't even know her name.
I don't know any
I
of these guys'
never
names.
do.
It's like guy who has a cassette player, guy who's the douchebag boyfriend, girl who is obviously going to survive the longest, and stuff like that. So tropes, that flip the tropes on their head. Yeah, I get it. Hey, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got it. Right. You identify tropes in the slasher genre, and you're gonna try to subvert them in some way, or blow it out of the water. I don't know, but the the campfire scene is the only real time we hear some dialogue, and it goes around, dude, like a fucking merry-go-round. That camera is
Woo!
spinning around these people for like 7.5 minutes while they explain this story about how Johnny was this developmentally disabled kid who was picked on by the local logging team, and they bullied him and they made him fall out of a fire tower and get hurt.
What did he drown and the camp counselors weren't looking too?
the grown-ups did wrong by this challenged child, and now he wants revenge for his mother. Okay, we get it. We get it. Make no mistake. I don't think it was any ever secret that this movie was obviously a Friday the 13th pitch. I know it, right? You change the names a little bit, we got it. It did what Brightburn did with this evil Superman kid story. It's just
Yeah.
you change the names a little bit, but we all know, and there's never been any denial. So no one's really like, it's not clever to say that you're a Friday the 13th ripoff. And we're gonna say it because we have to, but it's admitted. So, but kid has this tragic backstory, and we get a glimpse at the archetypes of these teenagers sitting around the campfire. Dude, I'll tell you, I didn't know these characters. I didn't know them until I started hearing something about, what are you going to cancel me? Oh, cancel culture is not real, right? Oh, I don't. You got something to drink other than beer because of toxic masculinity?
Yeah, I caught that
Shut
part.
up, shut up. I was out of it. I was like, all right, kill him, make him dead. I don't care. So right then, I was like, oh, I thought this was going to take place in the '80s or something, but nope.
Yeah, I mean the characters are dumb, and they say
Supposed to be.
stupid shit, which they're supposed to be. As much as I did not have a problem with the long tracking shots in this movie, this scene was one of the first that kind of made me. I was like, damn, all right, I get what you're trying to do. Okay, you're doing this cool kind of shot. It's different. And you're trying to build up tension because we know Johnny's in the back of the woods. He's watching. We're waiting for him to jump out and attack these people. And it doesn't happen. And I get where that could work to a certain point, but man, it just went on for a long time, long, long time. And they really should have cut that in half or had him at least while they're talking and doing this, go his perspective while he's like going around and trying to like figure out what he's going to do to him. Give me something a little bit different. The fact he just kind of stood there and they just kept doing this, I get he's kind of stalking them, but damn, that scene went on forever. And another little point I had, which I don't know if you heard this or didn't hear this, um, I had trouble, and I guess it's just yeah, I guess it's kind of realistic because a lot of the sound in this movie is him like stomping on the ground. It's like trees and leaves. When the other characters are talking, it's kind of hard to hear them. I couldn't really make out a lot of what they were saying. It felt like it was very low. I don't know if that's because of the theater or just because there's other shit going on in the background. I don't know. But when the characters would talk, I kind of like had to like perk up my ears to see what they were saying. I don't know if you
Yeah,
had that.
no, that's very right. It's intentional, artistic choice to where you can only pick out bits and pieces of the conversation. There's no ADR after the fact to make sure you got all bits of dialogue and all screenplay writing. Like if you don't hear something, you don't hear something. So
No.
it's like the audio equivalent of found footage. You see the essentials and not much else. So yeah, that was intentional. I was having the same problem where I heard bits and pieces. I didn't hear every sentence that they said. I caught like 70% of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get that. The kids are walking around. They're like, all right, we're going inside. Get this one kid who's going out, smoking some weed. He's like, I gotta take a shit. I gotta use the bathroom. Heads to the outhouse. Johnny gonna get his first kill in, well, not his first kill. The first kill we're gonna see on camera. And it's a solid kill, man. He comes up,
Yeah.
he's got like this I don't really
Crowbar,
know what
right?
it some it's like one of those saws where it's got like two ends where you have to like have the other guy on the other
Yeah,
end.
the
Like, I don't know,
two-handed
a
saw.
two-handed
Yeah.
saw or whatever. And he just comes around him on the tree. It's very much like in Friday the 13th where there's a kill very similar to that. And but this one's great because he gets him and he's like pulling it, and then like half his head like comes off. And the
Yeah.
special effects of this movie were great. I mean, you could tell they went all in with that shit. Um, and some of it was CGI, obviously, but a lot of the stuff looked really good. And hey, I was on for the kill. It was a cool looking kill, and then he grabs him, and then he just starts walking off with him like another day at the office. How many times did I say that to you during this movie?
Dude.
Like, just another day at the office. This is how it goes.
A day in the life of Johnny the Slasher. And yeah, it cuts half his head off. He's carrying the top half and the rest of the body, and each in a hand. And He's going to the ranger station. The practical effects were great. He going to the ranger station, and he he uses the top half of the head to break into the window and open the door. The head just goes rolling on the floor,
This
and
is
then
right when I started to laugh my ass off.
dude, he gets in and he goes up to like this glass display case on the wall where it shows like old firefighter equipment from the days of when he was a kid or whatever. It's got like an old timey firefighter mask and a woodland axe and a bunch of other stuff, and it's in a glass case. He takes the headless corpse and he just right right at the glass case. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, that killed me. That was so funny the way it was delivered. He just throws the corpse at the glass just to break it. Like he could have punched, could have done anything. He just throws the headless corpse at the glass. Dude, I started busting out the whole theater. Great vibes, great vibes. The audience we were watching it with, it wasn't a lot of people, but everyone was laughing at that part.
Except for that chicken or that dog that was in there. I could never
Dude,
figure
what
that out.
dude, what it like, was it a service dog or something? I don't know, man. There was
Throughout the
something going.
movie, we kept hearing that sounded like a dog like whimpering or barking or like a chicken going like "Brr." I don't really know how to describe something. And even the people that were sitting beside us kind of were like, what the hell's going on now? I thought at
Right?
first it was like maybe something in the movie, like it was just, and maybe it
Yeah.
was, I don't know. Maybe I have to go back and watch it, but I don't know. It sounded like something was going on beneath us. We couldn't figure it
I
out
don't know,
though.
man. Silence your farm animals when you come to the theater, man. Come
Please, come on.
on.
Um, but yeah, that scene was hilarious. I love that. He's just carrying the guy around and he's got the Walkman on or whatever. And like the music starts to like get drowned out kind of because I guess he got all crushed up or whatever. And it's funny. It's a really funny scene. Cool kill. And I like the way he gets his gear. I love that scene. It's hilarious. And then he grabs a shit and walks out. Like the automatic light comes on. He just turns over and looks at it. He's like, all right, whatever. Just keeps walking.
So, in terms of the gear, how'd you feel about Johnny's costume, Johnny's design?
I liked it. I gotta be honest with you though. I was more of a fan with him without the mask. I think
Oh
he
yeah,
looked better without the mask. The mask is cool looking. I know we've already mentioned this, but it kind of looks like the mask from Brightburn.
yes, it does.
Kind of looks
Yes, it.
like that. It's a cool mask. I can definitely see some kids wearing that shit for Halloween this year. Um, but I liked him better without the mask. It just was more menacing, a little bit scarier, especially when they weren't showing his face, like they were doing like the intentional like hideouts where
The
it was
back of the
dark
head,
and
yeah.
the back of his head, and it was like you couldn't see him. I think that was when it was like even a little bit scarier. Once he got the mask, I'm like, okay, like the design's cool, but uh, I liked him better without the mask. But other than that, I mean, he just got regular old like Jason clothes from like part two, like the wife beater and then like the flannel on and the
No.
jeans, and it's just I'm pretty basic shit. But I mean, I was cool with it for the most part.
Yeah, I don't foresee, even if this movie took off, I don't foresee a lot of Halloween costumes modeled after Johnny. The mask, the old timey woodland firefighter mask. Okay, yeah, there's a time and a place for that, just like there's a time and a place for an old fashioned scuba diver helmet. You know what I mean? So you're not gonna love it, but when he put that on, it kind of took away, and this is probably intentional, but it kind of took away any human aspect that this character had. I mean, like when you see a head on some shoulders with some arms, you're like, okay, that's a guy. But you start you start layering clothes on it. You start layering this basically burlap sack with two like nozzles on it for eye holes. It's harder to remember that there's a face under there. So I'm not going to say that the design was my favorite. The canceled Batgirl movie that was supposed to come out last year. One of the Batman's characters, Firefly, who I think is super cool, played by Brendan Fraser. He had that same mask, I think, the old timey firefighter mask, and that would have been cool to see then. But I'm glad we got to see it now. I don't even know where I would get my hands on one of those if I wanted to cosplay as Johnny. So it's okay. It's pretty cool. Maybe I would have liked to seen it more torn up or fire damaged or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like it needed a little bit more flavor, but it's fine. It's not the worst I've seen.
yeah. I'm there with you. And then his weapons of choice, obviously an axe, machete, whatever you want to call it, or definitely an axe. And then he's got this other thing with it's like a chain with like some hooks on it.
Like
Something
a
he
logging hook, yeah, where you
yeah.
use to grab the yeah.
So he's got that. He will definitely put that to use a little bit later on.
Hmm.
And then so yeah, and this is what we've got so far. It's just kind of this tracking shot. He's going around doing this stuff, and at this point in the movie, I'm into it. Yeah, there was some comedic stuff in there, but I'm okay with that. And but I'm very much into this. I want to see what he's going to do next. And then we get the he's walking through. I think we started cracking up because like you mentioned, he's walking at night, and then it's like bright in the morning, and then it's like
He's
early in the morning, and then it's like mid afternoon. I'm like, this
been
guy
walking
just
for
doesn't fucking
hours.
stop, dude. This guy just walks around everywhere. And we get this scene where he's walking, and all of a sudden he looks over and he sees these two girls out near the lake or whatever, and they're just talking about something.
They're on the
And
opposite side of the lake.
yeah, they're on the opposite side of the lake talking about, they're gonna do yoga, and I think both the girls are into each other or something. And then he just gets pissed. They say something. He takes that axe. He just goes, "Oh hell no!" Just throws it down, and then he just goes Michael Phelps, Aquaman, underneath the water for like 20 minutes, dude. I'm not even kidding. I'm like,
Dude. I was like, what's he gonna swim out there? But no, this man answered the question. How do you get to the other side of the lake if you're an undead slasher? You just walk. You just walk
you,
along the bottom of the lake.
you just walk around the bottom of the lake. You don't even. I mean, I guess since he's dead, he doesn't have to breathe. He can just kind of do whatever underwater. It doesn't matter.
But you
Oxygen.
float. I mean, an
I
aquatic corpse floats.
I don't know, man. I don't know how he pulled that shit off. I think they could have cut that down a little bit too. And then one of the girls, she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go do yoga. I'll catch up with you later." One girl's like swimming in the lake. And it's just like for 10 minutes, like you're just waiting on him to get there and get there and get there. And then he finally does, and like he kind of like drowns the girl underneath the water. You don't really see it. It's very like quick. And she like makes like one little scream for help, and then he gets out of the water and just starts walking again.
The time that it took him to get from one side of the lake to the other, it feels like he literally walked under the entire lake.
Yeah.
Like he like the whole time it's this me dude. I gotta laugh, dude. This whole time when this happened, all I could think of was this meme where it's just like, oh, I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. It's where like Godzilla just walks back into the sea after
Uh,
destroying Tokyo. It's just that guy walking into like a golf course pond. Dude, that's all I was thinking of. It's so funny. But he just walks under there, walks across. They have their conversation. One of them goes their separate ways, pulls her down, drowns her. I was expecting a little bit more gore or something,
yeah.
something a little bit more flashy, but now she just floats up dead and he just walks out, just walks right out of the pond like nothing even happened. So I
Yeah.
like that. I thought that was, if we're gonna get Jason from the perspective of Jason, yeah, we're gonna see that behind the scenes stuff where he just does those things.
Yeah. It was definitely different. So he does that, and I whispered to you before that. I said I think this is the kill that I've heard a lot about, because there
Heard
was
nothing
one.
about it.
I haven't heard really much anything about this movie since I watched the trailer in the theaters, and I was like, I want to see that. But I did see someone online say something. There's a yoga kill in this movie. It's nuts. So I just had that. I said I knew when this comes up, something's gonna happen. They mentioned doing yoga. I'm like, this is the kill. It wasn't the kill. And then he gets out of the water, he starts walking, and then he sees a girl doing yoga kind of like on the side of the mountain. I'm like, this is it. Like, get ready. And oh my God, dude. I mean, I feel like some people are saying this kill was overrated. You're out of your mind. This kill was fucking bonkers, dude.
Yeah.
Um, wow. I'd never seen anything like it. It's definitely
Describe it to someone who's never seen it.
like for people that like
There's nothing you can relate it to. Don't say like.
oh, I'm gonna try my best. I mean, no, you can't. But yeah, people like me, like when you try to like pop your neck, kind of
I
try to
do that all the
crack.
time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just imagine that, but you do it, and your head ends up crashing your fucking stomach. I don't know. That's the best way I can say it. He runs into this girl, and she just like stops at the ledge, and she's like, ah, and then all of a sudden he takes his hook, punches it through her stomach. You're like, oh wow, that's cool. And then he takes it and he hooks it onto like her head. And
Dude.
then he takes it, pulls it like a pulley, and he takes her neck, and her neck like snaps in half, and her neck and her head go through the hole in the stomach he made, and it ties it into like a knot.
Dude.
It's insane, dude. It's insane.
Yeah, that was creative. That was pretty good. I mean, Saw and the Saw franchise has done some stuff, but to do this barehanded one-on-one, that was cool. Reaching through, like hooking up and pulling the head through
Oh
like you're turning her body into a letter P or something, dude. It was
yeah,
crazy. And the head is coming through and all the innards are spilling out. And that went on for a good amount of time too. That was they did not cut away from that. Yeah, I'd like to see the MPAA try to rate that because
yeah,
that
yeah.
was where would it initial reaction? Where would you rank that in your top kills of all time? Is that in top 10?
I I mean, I would, considering I've only seen the movie once and I've seen compared it to so many other kills that I've seen 100 times, I would probably put it in my top 15 or 20 at least,
Mm-hmm.
even if I just saw it that once. I feel like if I see it again, I can get a better look and feel for it. But I mean, to watch a movie one time and to be like, damn, that's one of the best kills I've ever seen, that's a high praise.
It is. You know what? The Omen had that.
Yeah,
I don't even think the Thing had that, but pulling your head through like that. Ah, yeah,
bruh.
that was. I mean, let's make no mistake. This movie's just torture porn. I mean, it's just a gore fest. But that's if that's what you were hoping for, that's what you got. There's no point rating this R or PG-13. Like, just go into it and just watch some nastiness in the woods. That's what this is about.
Pretty much. I mean, the title of the movie says in a violent nature. So you know you're going to
That's the
get
whole
some,
movie right there.
it's going to be violent and it's going to happen in nature. And it's
There you
going
go.
to happen in a violent nature. There you go. So
he, he said the thing.
he said it. He said it. So yeah, to kind of, kind of speed things up a little bit. Basically, he's picking these kids off one by one, and he's not really doing it intentionally. I mean, he's looking for his locket, but really he walks around and he just like hears stuff and he's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go over there. And he just hears the kids talking. We get this. I think this is the scene I laughed the hardest at. I think everyone did, where he walks up and he hears these two people talking and they're like on this ATV or whatever. And the guy like throws his car keys or whatever. And this is the first time we really get to see his face. And he goes and grabs the car keys. And I love the scene because it's got like a little toy car on it, like a matchbox car on the keys. He just sits down, takes his mask off, and starts playing with it on his
Just
leg,
play with the car.
like he's a kid. Like he still is a kid. He might be 60 years old, but in his head, he's still a kid. And that scene was I thought was kind of cool, was something different. And then we get like this, it goes from like unfocused to focus, and we see his face, and it's all like it's a great look. It looks so much better without the mask, in my opinion. I like the look of him. I think he'd look gross, gnarly. It looked cool.
It wasn't really Jason because Jason had a fucked up face. It was kind of like a mix between Sloth and like the lead orc from the third Lord of the Rings. Like it was kind of in between there, and he had like clouded eyes and
Yeah,
like a cleft lip and all that.
yeah,
He was nasty. I was expecting him to look more zombie like,
yeah.
but yeah,
He looked almost childlike in a way.
like a child who never grew into the right body.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that. So this
good
guy,
makeup.
yeah, so he's got the keys. The guy's looking for his keys. He can't find them. He finds a machete on the ground and he takes the machete. He's like, whatever, or the axe. He's like, oh, fuck no. So he gets up, puts his shit back on, and we start to see him kind of like hustle this time. Like he's moving a little bit. Like he's not
Yeah.
walking. He's hustling. And then he goes and takes like a stick, and there's like a forerunner sitting there, and he takes the stick and puts it in there, and the horn starts going, and it's
Just
just
like the
like that,
loudest.
sitting down on the horn, and he's trying to draw the people out of the house. and he's like jogging like all the way around the house, waiting for him to come out, and then they come out, and he tries to kill him, and then they shoot him with a gun. That's probably the scene I laughed out the most whenever he started laying on the horn. And then they try to kill him. One guy shoots him. Classic trope where he's like, "All right, it's not going to kill him, but it'll slow him down." And he kind of messes this guy's one leg up, and he's like, "All right, I'll carry you." They start walking down to the woods. They're like, "Oh, it's so far away. We'll get some help." Johnny wakes up, man, without even thinking about it. He just fucking throws that axe and just hits the guy in the head.
Dude,
You're
projectile
dead.
weapon, whoosh,
You're
right
dead.
into the skull.
And then we get like a different shot where it's like over the top, and we see him walking, and he does a great kill where he takes the rock and throws it on the guy's heads. Very similar to Halloween 2018, where Michael steps on Sartain's head and just explodes like a fucking watermelon. It's great. Um, so yeah, at this point, we're pretty much down like the last two people, and he's looking, he's walking around looking, trying to find the locket, and we get to this point where it's nighttime and he's walking around, and I think we started busting out laughing at this point. It had to be intentional where he knows where the people are hiding at, but in the background you can hear them whispering. They're like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over here, and then you're gonna go over there, and then we're gonna jump. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then like he just sits there, and like one of them like peeks out. He's like a
They just watch. No, but before we get to that point, though, we get to the point where those two people are. They go to the ranger station for help, and they try to get help from this
oh
ranger
shit, you're
who's
right.
like got his gun. He's like talking to him, and he shoots. He shoots Johnny. He's like, "No, bullets, just slow him down. All right, we're gonna chain him up." Ah, it goes wrong. The ranger gets killed. Now we're gonna be talking all year about the yoga kill, but this kill with the ranger, this was my favorite moment of the entire movie.
Really?
This, yeah. Not the way he killed him, but what he did with the body afterwards. When he took the body of the ranger into the log cutting station or whatever you want to call it, and he started up that machine that just like it's like a hydraulic press, but it's bladed with for logs for splitting logs.
Yeah.
And he the guy who's barely alive, he put his arm on that hydraulic press machine, and we just watched the blade go all the way into his arm and just like snap it right through like it was a log and
Yep.
just flail over. And then he moves the body and he puts his head right there, and the blade just goes and it goes and it goes. The whole sequence is like 9 minutes long. That was my favorite moment of the entire movie. The the way it was shot, the way the camera was just like resting on something while it was happening, it made it feel like one of those sinister snuff films. It made it feel like you had your phone propped up and you were watching like dark web gore
Yeah.
videos, like were that really happening? And the arm just it flops over like a real arm would, and the head just tumbles away. Like, dude, that's probably the realest looking gore I've seen in a very long time. If it was any other movie, it would have been close ups, it would have been cutting shots, it would have been splatter everywhere. But this thing was shot like a dark web video, and I loved every second of it. That was my favorite highlight of the movie, easily.
Dude, I agree 10,000%. I loved it. I'm a big fan. I love tracking shots in general, especially when they're done well. In this movie, while there are some points where it's a little tedious, it does it well. But this kill, like you said, it was brutal and it's real. Like if I ever directed a horror film, this is how I would do a kill because I
Yeah,
like just the static, long drawn out. Well, it's raw and it's
it's
real
almost
and
found footage.
it's very found footage esque, and it's disturbing to watch in a way. And
Yeah.
and I love in the background all it is no music. It's just the sound of the fucking generator just go, and that's all you hear. And it's like 10 minutes of him just like chopping up this guy, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's wild, man. It's I agree. It's one of the it might be better. I'm not going to say the kill was better, but just the overall scene in general is better than the yoga scene. The yoga scene kill is wild, and that's
Oh
what's going
yeah.
to be remembered. But this seems more like raw and like,
Yeah.
damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah, that's my highlight of the movie. You could have made a whole found footage film around that. We were talking about it with our Sinister review, like that. Like you don't get more real than that. Like I'll put
Nope.
that up there with like the Sinister like pool scene and the hanging scene. That was good. I was watching the whole time. I was like, okay, this
Oh
is
man.
happening. That arm
Uh,
hasn't fallen yet.
I love the part where it's like before that, where the ranger and they have him like on the ground, and he's like just dumping so much exposition, and then he goes,
Yeah.
"All right," he goes, "I'm gonna give you the gun. One, two."
And
Just like wakes
Johnny's
up
just laying there.
automatically.
You know Johnny's awake. He's just chilling.
And he even admits he's like the girls go like, "You think he's dead?" He's like, "Oh no, that's just gonna slow him down." I'm like, dude, you should be fucking pumping his ass full of
You're right,
shots.
dude. Double tap. But the whole thing is a commentary on like slasher tropes. And
Yeah,
instead of like panning back and forth between the teenagers talking about like how to put him to rest with the locket, it's just Johnny just chilling on the ground. Because when you're not looking, that's what Michael Myers is doing. That's what Jason is doing. He's
yeah,
fucking laying there waiting for a comedic moment to grab the barrel of the gun. So yeah, I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's not bad.
absolutely. So we get that, and then kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. The two people they run off. It's a guy and a girl left, and Johnny hears them like talking about how they're gonna trap him or whatever. They got like some gasoline and some chains, whatever. And then, man, one of the funniest, another funny scene, but awesome kill in the movie. The guy pops out to distract him. He's like, "Hey, blah 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 blah." Johnny doesn't even turn around. He just boom right behind him, just hits him with a damn axe right to the face. And dude, he just goes to town. I mean, it's like it's
It hits him like 30 times.
dude, I read on Reddit last night. I don't know if this is true. Someone said they watched the movie like twice and they counted it and they heard 80 times. But that
I,
doesn't even count like the times where she was like running away and he was still doing
yeah.
like they counted it like as many as 80 times. So you would say maybe 100 times. This dude is just it's just
It
like
was
spamming like the button over and over and over. And like you see a good amount of it where they show it. It's like, damn, like this is brutal. Like they keep showing them. And then I wanted him to keep going because I thought it was so funny. And he
yeah.
did. And then the girl steps out from behind the woods. She's like, you know what? I'm just gonna put your golden locket right here.
This trap's not gonna work. Here's your locket. Like
And I'm gonna go. And she just watches him and he just keeps whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
is tenderizing that meat for a little
Dude,
bit, but
he was spanking that thing.
so here's the question though. She gives up. She has this plan that we saw off screen, or that they planned off screen for a trap with the fire tower. Cinematic showdown. We get it. She decides last minute, you know what? It ain't worth it. Here's your locket. Decide that earlier. Why do you want to keep this locket so long that you have to go through this elaborate fire tower trap? Just throw the thing at him and walk away. The ranger already explained to you that
Exactly.
puts him to rest. We explained it to you at least 30 minutes prior. Here you go. Here's your locket. Bye bye. Why would you even try for a trap? I don't know. I can get lost in the weeds on that, but it's all about tropes. It's all about tropes
Yeah.
and stupid teenagers, you know?
You know, I thought about that. I'll get into this at the end so we get to the ending. So yeah, she's running around, she gets lost in the woods, and this is that's the last time we see Johnny. Is that scene where
Is
he's
it?
yeah, yeah, we never see him again because that's when he's
Just
cutting the
hacking
guy
them up.
up,
Yeah,
hacking him
okay.
up like it's his job. And just another day at the office, man. It's just
A
another
day in
day.
the life.
Day in the life of a serial killer. And you know, she gets lost, and we do get this cool scene where it's like late at night and you hear like the animals in the forest at night, like making all these noises. Like, dude, I mean, you remember that time we went camping in the woods with Bailey and Seth? Like that shit, like it's creepy,
It's
dude.
loud out there.
It's
You
loud.
can't hear traffic or anything.
Nope. All you hear is just the animals and the sounds
Mm-hmm.
around you. And yeah, she runs and gets lost, and then we cut to the next morning. She fell down, kind of got something a stick stuck in her leg or
Yeah.
something, I don't know, and she runs out onto the main road. She's looking for help. um and eventually this car comes around. This lady picks her up and she's like, we're going to get you to the hospital, we're going to get you to the hospital. And this is man.
This is the ending of Sinister, man.
This is yeah. This is man, I don't know if I can call it. I might, honestly. It might be. I have to see it again before I say this. Man, one of the worst endings I've seen. It just
Dude,
sucked the life out of me.
a Buzz Killington, the movie. Oh my
Mm,
God. Easily 15 minutes of just hot nothing.
So, well, I'm not going to get into the whole thing because
Tell
we'll
us the
be
whole
here.
story. Waste
Please.
15 of my minutes, dude.
Basically, this older lady picks up this girl, the final girl, and she's like, "What happened?" And she's so like traumatized. Oh my God, I hate that word. She's so distraught, traumatized about what happened that she's like barely talking. This lady's going on about some monologue about her cousin or uncle Bobby went to the woods one time and was attacked by a bear. I guess she's really referring to Johnny, but I don't know. It could be an allegory or something. And basically what she's saying is like, yeah, sometimes nature just kills to kill because that's what they do. Okay,
It's
and
a violent nature.
yeah, and they have this conversation for literally. I wish we need to go back in time at the next time I watch it when it comes out on Shutter. It's got to be over 10 minutes long where they're talking, and nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, after that whole monologue, basically the girl's like bleeding out from her leg. And the lady pulls over. She's like, I got to put this tourniquet on your leg. She's like, no, 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 we need to go. We need to go. She doesn't want to see Johnny again. He's out there somewhere. And we get this scene and she's just looking into the woods, expecting him to pop out. And then we just get this panning shot where she left the golden locket that night. It's gone. The movie's over.
Dude, waste of my time, dude. So obviously, obviously the movie wants you to anticipate a jump scare. When she finally pulls over, she's like, no, no, please don't stop the car, just keep going. And it opens up the door and she bends down, and it's that very static shot on the bushes. And you're like, everyone in the theater's like, is that him right there? And it stays on it for about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It doesn't move. All the sound goes quiet. Everyone in the theater holds their breath. Flying axe out of nowhere. Cut to black. That's what I expected. I expected him to be in the bushes or to just like walk away, or something. I expected some kind of payoff for all that tension building. Nothing. Now, I get it. I get subverting expectations. I get tension building with no payoff. I understand all of that very, very well. That whole ending sequence was about nothing. And a cinematography, and from a screenplay, from just a filmmaking standpoint, that was nothing. Okay. And now you'll have these people dissecting this movie. You go watch, and I'm not knocking, look, I'm not knocking these other channels when I say this, but you go watch any other video where it's in a violent nature ending explained. Go watch any of those right now. They're all going to give you some translation. Some vary a little bit differently than others. Some are like, well, now it's shifting perspectives, and now you're seeing that a victim is traumatized by a chain of events, and you can never really
Trauma.
know. Yeah, you can never really know when you're safe, and danger is always lurking. Or maybe the old timer is right, and sometimes nature just kills to kill, and there's just no understanding it, and put you can't put logical thought behind the look. Just because the aspect ratio is full screen and not widescreen doesn't make it a piece of art. Okay, just because it's slow doesn't mean it's a slow burn. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's smart. This ending was nothing. If you had the idea to just subvert the expectations of a twist, to subvert the expectations of a jump scare, to even deliver the message that a victim never really knows if they're out of the thick of it or not. And that's why the woods kept going on for so long. And that's why the victim, her only question was what happened to the bear, because she's trying to. I don't want to hear about open for interpretation. I don't want to hear about it because this ending was nothing. You had a concept for a Jason movie that you couldn't get the rights to. You had a couple really good kills, and you were just dying to get 2 hours of runtime, and you just barely made enough. This ending was about nothing. There is no interpretation of it that I want to hear. It total buzzkill, grinded everything to a halt, and I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, I mean there's really nothing else I can say that you didn't just say. I felt the exact
That
same
went
way.
on. That whole monologue I just gave you went on almost as long as that entire ending sequence, and it had a little bit of message behind it.
Yeah, it look, I'm right there with you. I get, doing the cop out, trying to everyone's expecting this one final pop up from the killer, something to happen. And you know what? Sometimes when that doesn't happen, it works. It builds tension. It's a cop out. It fakes you out. It works. There are movies where that works, and I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
But man, this movie, I don't know what they were thinking. And I'm with you. I don't want to hear this allegory about she was she has so much trauma now that
Ugh.
it's PTSD from what happened. I'm like, you're trying to make something out of nothing here. There is no allegory, and if you want to make that up for your ending of this movie to make you feel better about it, then whatever. But no, I can't get behind it. It was I get what they were trying to do. You did it, but you did it in such a bad way. In such a
Yeah.
bad way that if you would have did that scene and cut it down to maybe like 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah.
it would have been better, even though nothing still happened. That's fine. At least it's quick. It makes you think about it for just a minute, and then boom, movie's over. This this was like an extra credit scene where someone was like, "Dude, make sure you stay after the movie to make sure there's something that happens. You got to see it." I'm like, okay, and you sat there and you're like, "You're telling me I wait another 10 minutes for this?"
Yeah.
It sucked. It was
It,
not good. I'm sorry.
there was no story resolution. There was no story forwarding. There was nothing. And I think the nail in the coffin with it was the idea that once the locket was put down and Johnny was put to rest, that the perspective is going to shift away from the POV of the killer and into the final girl like we expected to see, right? So you shift into that perspective where you're following her frantically through the woods and it's not focused and there's screaming and everything. Okay, final girl time. Got it, right? She escapes. First of all, I'm not rooting for her. I don't even know her name. It's the end of the movie. But you focus on her and you're expecting this jump scare. Yeah, okay, you subvert my expectations, whatever. But let me see if I can word this right. When you changed perspectives to the victim, like every other slasher has been before you, and you enter into this arena of just, is the killer behind that tree? Is that him over there? Is an axe going to come flying at my face? When you start entering that arena and start with that kind of tension building, suddenly you realize, oh, I understand why every other slasher movie had that. It's because I thought I wanted this thing I just sat through, but I really just wanted the surprise of a slasher being behind the tree. So now I realize, oh, I did just want a Jason movie. Ah, and the whole thing is just salt on the wound. Nothing happens, and nothing happens for no reason. It, if you're going to follow this good, admittedly good concept of the POV of the killer, follow it through to the end. Follow it through. Girl runs away. Johnny picks up the locket. He goes back to his final resting place with the locket in hand, dearly. Trope happens. Maybe he hears the car driving by and he decides to get one last round in, and you follow him as they're having a conversation. You catch the tail end of it where she's bandaging up the lady. Boom, axe in the head, anyways, cut to black. Follow Johnny. The whole thing has been about following the slasher icon through these tropes and getting a different angle that you're not used to seeing. We expected what I just said, a surprise, a jump scare. We expected that. Give us the different angle of it. Don't give us the standard angle, but deny us of it. Give us Johnny making that final jump scare. Show us what it looks like when a killer comes out for that last blow, and the movie cuts to black. Show us the killer's perspective of a movie cutting to black. That would have been better.
Yeah.
But
I
instead,
mean,
I don't know. What else could be said? I don't know.
it insists upon itself.
It insists upon itself, dude. Artsy fartsy, man.
Man.
You can't make a slasher movie artsy fartsy. I'm sorry.
And I think kind of adding to what you said, to an ending where maybe you're following him and then he sees the car going and then he kind of walks out onto the road and maybe the vehicle drives past and then you pan out and you see he's holding like the locket in his hand, lets you know he got just give me something, man. I'm
Or
not
he
saying,
doesn't.
or maybe he never got it. Maybe he just said, fuck it, I don't care anymore. I don't know. Something would have been better than that. And I can't defend that. I get some people, they try to make it into some sort of meaning. No, it just
No.
didn't do it for me.
And if you're going to keep the perspective, it would have been cool if you saw him like look at her getting bandaged up on the side of the road and think to himself in his dead head, I could kill her right now, but I'm going to go back into hiding. He buries himself. End of movie. The movie ends the way it started. Book ended. Nice parallels right there. But
Yeah,
he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that.
I agree. So yeah, that is in a violent nature. I guess we will. I guess I'll go first since I'll probably. What, are you gonna buy this on Blu-ray since it's different?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to buy this one.
I think you've
when I
got
sit on
enough
the
movies.
when I sit on the couch to watch a movie, I have a hard time staying awake with things that are way more exciting than this.
Are you gonna watch this again, you think?
Yeah, I'll watch it again. I'll watch it. I think I still have Shutter. I'll probably watch it one more time to see what she thinks about it. But I'm not gonna
I'll
buy this.
I definitely want to give it another go.
Yeah.
And watch it again. I mean, I'll probably buy it because it's just what I do. I buy anything that's on Blu-ray. I even bought Exorcist Believer. So yeah.
Well, you bought that. You might as well buy this.
Like I'll have to buy the next Exorcist movie they're coming out with.
Yep, you have
Yeah. So
to.
that is in a violent nature. I'll go first. Break this thing down. Like we mentioned, the ending did not land for me. Did not land for us whatsoever. Um, and there are some issues with the pacing. A lot of scenes are drawn out. Stuff can get kind of boring, very repetitive. But I think within this movie, there's enough. While yes, it is very Friday the 13th esque. I think there is enough in it that makes it its own film. It's something that it's a film that tries to do something different. The kills are awesome. I like the character of Johnny. I'm going to disagree with you. Like you said in the beginning, I think this could be. I'm not saying this is going to be the next Michael or Freddy, but I could see them trying to do like a franchise, maybe like a 2 or 3 sequel film with this. I think they could do it. I think there's enough there where if they change some stuff up, maybe they could do it. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I think the character is good enough to give another run with another movie. And technically, they left it open for a sequel. The girl's alive. I don't know if they do something with that. But I like the look of the character. I like the kills. I like that. I like no music. I like the brutality and rawness of just seeing the mundane. I think it works. Um, but I had a higher grade for it until the ending. The ending knocked it down some for me. But all in all, I enjoyed the film. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna watch it again because I think it's different. I would recommend checking it out, either if you see it in theaters or on Shudder, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you have a giant pot of coffee beside you because you're gonna fall asleep. I'm gonna go B minus for this. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going B minus.
Huh. I figured the ending would have knocked you lower than that. That's pretty
I
generous.
actually, yeah, I had it at a solid B, but this knocked it down to a B minus. I know it's not a big jump. I didn't have the problems that I've seen a lot of other people complain with it about. They say,
Yeah,
oh, it's just it presented itself as to what it was. I don't really know what else people were looking for.
right,
I mean, yeah, it could have been better. Like I could think of a 10,000 ways they could have improved this movie and made it a fucking slasher classic, but they
right.
didn't. But that's okay. I didn't expect it to. And to me, it's just a solid movie. You know, B minus, C plus, somewhere in there. I'm gonna go B minus just because I'm feeling nice today.
For another low budget Shutter original, that's pretty damn good. And you're right. They had a concept, they had a mission statement, and they delivered upon it. What more do you want? Why are you not happy that you didn't get less than that? They had a concept, a Friday the 13th from Jason's angle. They gave you that. So yes, I understand that for sure. You know, I had a good time with this movie too. The kills were nice. The kill I talked about, love that kill. The yoga kill, yeah, I'm gonna watch that on YouTube again very soon. The the sound design, great. When she's running through the woods and the frogs, they sound like women screaming.
Hmm.
Awesome, awesome, awesome sound design. And what's really interesting about the whole angle of the killer's POV is that you skip all the bullshit in slasher movies, which is just the conversations about nothing, or the sex, or the smoking, or the buffers. You
Yeah.
get this guy's killed, walk over here, they're reacting to that kill. Something happens, walk over here, they're planning a trap for the killer. You get to the highlights of the movie and you focus on what you want to focus on. You don't have any of that other bullshit in there. So I like that aspect of this angle. I think it's well. I'm gonna give my 4 golden rules. I'm gonna tell you what I don't like about this movie because it's burning. So golden rule number 1: don't show me the monster. You show me the monster. You can't follow the guy the whole movie and not show me the monster.
Yeah.
I thought you weren't going to show me the face. You show me the face for an extended piece of time, and even though the makeup's good, you show me the monster. I can't give you that one. Uh, be scary at all times, not just when the threat is on screen. Threat's literally always on screen. So no. Don't rely only on jump scares. Rule number 3: no, I don't think there were any jump scares. I mean, this movie's all about gore and tension building. There's no jump scares in this, and when you do expect one, they deny you of that. So yeah, I'll give you that one for sure. You move from an F to a D. And my last golden rule: push the boundaries. POV from the killer is uncommon. POV from the bad guy is not common, but it's been done. Big corporations have done it. That movie that I mentioned, Rampage, did it a little bit better. So I can't give you that. I don't want to say you pushed any boundaries. The gore was nice. Saw did it, but good job nonetheless. I'll give you a pat on the back. You're in the D range, man.
Oh,
You're
wow.
by my golden rules. You're in the D range. I did enjoy the kills, and I like talking about this. I'll give you a D plus. You know,
What? A D
I'm
plus?
I'm sticking by it. I'm gonna give you a D plus,
Damn,
and
dude. I
I'll
thought
and no 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 no, and I'll tell you why I'm gonna give you a D plus. I hate artsy fartsy movies, but here's something I hate more than artsy fartsy movies. It's stupid movies that try to convince you they're artsy fartsy. That's the one thing I hate more than artsy fartsy movies. You pull out this aspect ratio of old school film that, by the way, everyone's doing nowadays. Every movie's got this. Zack Snyder's got this. A24's got this. Every student film's got this now. People are doing Instagram videos with this. Stop with the full screen. Stop with that aspect ratio. It's not creative. It's not an artistic choice. You're not shooting this on film. Don't do that. It's not clever. This idea of a slow burn and tension building, that's not what a slow burn is. A slow movie is not a slow burn movie. You're not building up to anything. You're getting from point A to point B to point C, and that's it. That's not a slow burn. The ending, the what does it mean? The open to interpretation. Fuck that noise, dude. You didn't say anything with that ending. You weren't building up to any tension. And just because you don't release the tension, I get it. You're going to say, oh, just because you didn't release the tension doesn't mean they weren't building up to it. They weren't building up to it. The locket was given. He was put to rest. That's well known. Yeah, general audiences might have expected a surprise or something, but there wasn't even a suggestion that Johnny was there in the woods. So no, you're not smart. You're fun. You're a slasher movie. You got a creative angle on a slasher movie, and I like that. But you are a lowbrow horror movie masquerading as a highbrow horror movie. You're more student film than anything. I'm not saying you're not fun to watch, but you are a student film with extra money. So no, and I don't feel like I should interpret the ending a certain way to make me sound smart to people on YouTube. Whatever. Disagree with me if you want, but I don't like that. I smelt it. My bullshit meter's off the charts with this. And some of the things I was reading about how the director was responding to Q&A about this, my bullshit meter's through the roof right now. I enjoy the product, but let's not call the product art. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
That's it.
I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you said. You know, I'm kind of shocked you gave it a D plus though.
I like the movie. It's fun to watch, but not again.
No, I see what you're saying. I agree. It certainly is going to hurt in the rewatchability factor because it's one of those like you see it once, so you need to see it again. I mean, I'll give it another watch. I'll buy it just to check it out, and it's something different. But I think the parts that they really nailed, that were like the parts that you wanted to see, they really nailed, and then there were some other things that kind of really hindered it down. So I could see why you would feel that way. But I would say it was a fun D plus at least. It
Yeah,
wasn't it wasn't The Lodge where you were like, holy shit, this is awful.
yeah, that's artsy fartsy. Yeah, no, this is a fun movie. A D plus, yeah, it's a D plus, but I enjoyed this movie. And yeah, I might have just talked a big bowl of shit about it, but it's fine. I got exactly what I expected out of it and nothing more.
I had one question for you before we get
Hmm.
out of here. Well, I was going to make one point and then a question. My point is that I seen some other people mention this before, and I wanted to mention it. You remember in Halloween 2018 where you get the scene of Michael, like the POV of Michael walking around the neighborhood?
Yeah, the houses, yeah.
Dude, can you imagine if like you'd never get a whole Halloween movie with this in it, but can you imagine if like that happened? Like that would be so sick.
That's all I want, dude. The Michael's Rampage in 2018, and this obviously took inspiration from that. But that whole 12-minute segment there in 2018, chef's kiss,
That's
chef's
probably one
kiss.
of my favorite parts of the whole movie is like watching
Hey,
him just go around and just it's
that's what
awesome.
I came here for.
Awesome, awesome. My second thing is okay, so if you just give Johnny the locket back, then he's fine. No, in the beginning scene of the opening scene of the movie, the locket is like hanging on like a ledge. Why didn't they just throw that in there when they buried him, and that way no one could ever touch it, and then you bury him, and no one's gonna mess with the locket. They can't. It's buried.
So I think the locket was hanging on this pipe sticking out of the ground, and the pipe was like the makeshift headstone of Johnny's burial place. I guess you can make the argument that the locket is it significant in a spiritual or supernatural way to Johnny, to where that's kind of like putting a crucifix on top of a vampire's coffin. They're not
Mhm.
going to be able to open it. Something like that. That's how I interpreted it. A little bit of mysticism there, where it's like you put the locket on the headstone and he remains in his slumber, something like that. That's how I interpreted it.
I guess that's possible. Yeah. Or you could just have a sign that says, "Here's Johnny."
Or just say, hey, don't dig right here. Like that's
Don't
it.
dig right. But yeah, so I will give credit to this movie. Thank you for giving us a Friday the 13th esque movie before an actual Friday the 13th movie will
Damn.
actually come out.
We got Friday the 13th before GTA 6.
We got Friday the 12th, basically.
Yeah,
So
basically.
But that's it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in. We've done a bunch of other reviews. Go check them out. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy our long length reviews. We'd like to get into the weeds of everything. Check
Tracking
everything
shots.
out. That's right, tracking shots, long POV, walking through
Yeah.
the woods. Just another day at the office, okay? But yeah, we will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
The mummy has now been located.
The living mummy. The living mummy.
Bullets won't stop.
Some creature out of time.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
He's completely out of control.
I saw those bodies.
Is he a man or a monster?
You actually knew a werewolf in a peaceful town where nothing ever happened.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
In the mystical regions of Transylvania.